Sripad Bhaktivedanta Tridandi Swami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Amasto Tarasrishi Srimad Sripad Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Rupa Nuga Guru Varigi Ki Jai. Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Gopinath Bhavan. Om Aginatimirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jina Tasmaya Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Taralaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Prabhajantam Anapetyam Apeti Krityam Dvaipayano Vidaha Tatara Atyuhava Putraiti tam mayatayo tarvo vinidustam sarvabhutam mulimanatoshmi Bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay shittascha dharmaditaram ramadye Kripa mayitvam sharanam papanam vrinde namaste charanarvindam Bhajami radham aravinda netram smarami radham madhutasya Vadami radham karuna bharatram tato mamanasti katyana chakti. First of all, offer millions of Dandavat pranams to the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nityalila Prabhishna Om Asto Tarasrashi Shrimad Sripad Bhaktivedanta Tridandi Swami Maharaj. And the same again, millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nityalila Prabhishna Om Asto Tarasrashi Shrimad Sripad Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And all the Vaishnava and Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Dandavat pranams. So, we're continuing with our study of what is Gaura Lila, what is Gaura Tattva, and what is the meaning, the deep meanings of this Siksastakam. these 8 prayers that Mahaprabhu manifested. So far I've described how Mahaprabhu knew he was leaving this world. He knew that he had to intensify his time to fulfill those 3 desires. Does somebody want to quickly just tell me what the 3 desires are? Who can tell me? Just straight. Tell him. Desires, not reasons for his advent. Someone can tell? Everyone looking down. Haribol. No. I'm afraid I'm not just an entertainer here. I'll all sit back. You have to participate. The essence of our practice is relationship. Vrindavan Lila. 3 desires. Perfect. To understand the glories of Radha. Yes? Yes, that's correct. To relish the sweet qualities. It's astonishing qualities. Adbhuta Madhurima. Krishna has astonishing qualities. Don't mind if I repeat this a few times each day, because it's the backbone of Gaura Tattva. When we hear it repeatedly, then something will stay with us. So the second desire, to relish the astonishing sweet qualities of Krishna. Okay, third desire is the most tricky. Who can say? Someone have a go. Somebody want to try? The sweetness of his love. 98%. Almost got it, yeah. The happiness she feels when she experiences the sweetness of Krishna's love. Try and commit these 3 desires to memory, and then you can meditate deeply on them. Then always when we're talking about Mahaprabhu, this is what we're thinking of. This is Krishna, and he's wanting to fulfill these 3 desires in the Gambhira. So these 3 desires were increased in intensity when he began to manifest the Siksastakam. And it came, I described yesterday, remember, that prem is synonymous with humility. So as Mahaprabhu's prem increased, simultaneously his humility increased. And when he chanted this Siksastakam, it's literally a progression of humility. It's a deepening. Each verse goes to another stage of humility. We'll describe this. We'll see as we go through the verses. So today, we're in the second jewel of the first verse. Yesterday, we discussed Cheto Darpana Marjana, cleaning the mirror of the heart. And principally, that mirror is cleansed when our anarthas are recognized and purified. And there were 4 principal anarthas. Somebody want to say quickly? What were those 4? You said it yesterday as well. If you say it twice in a day, you'll have it remembered. Swarup Brahm. Yes. Aparad. Hridai Dubalyam. Yes. So I explained that the acharyas are so compassionate that they analyze these obstacles. These are very deep obstacles, aren't they? These are subtle desires that are influencing our attachment to this realm. As long as we have attachment to this world, we can never gain transcendence. How can the spirit soul manifest its full purity if it's still wanting to be material? The soul is covered by these desires. Prabhupada describes very beautifully that... Why is it doing like that?
Take it off the stand.
No, take it off stand, it drops.
So it doesn't touch, there's some resonance.
Okay.
If it touches the stand.
So Prabhupada has said, try and understand this, that the soul has given the power of attorney to the mind. The mind is like leading the soul. The soul is pure spirit. more powerful ultimately, but the mind is leading the soul. The mind is dragging the soul. You know the picture in Bhagavad Gita of the 4 horses, the 5 horses with the 5 senses, and then the reins are intelligence. And who's the driver? The mind. The mind is the driver, and the soul is sitting in the back, bewildered, just being driven along by the mad mind. So this is our situation, and to purify that restlessness of the mind, we must sight the enemy. We must know what is blocking us. So these 4 anarthas. So this Cheto Dapana Majam. Then I described that when these obstacles become purified, then our focus is revealed on what is transcendental knowledge. And I described it in 5 aspects. There's the Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, time, kala, and karma. These 5 aspects are revealed very clearly. And this will give us our Sambandha Gyan. When that Sambandha Gyan is strong, that means our relationship with the Supreme is focused and developing. So this is the first jewel that will manifest with the chanting of the holy name. What a wonderful jewel. How could we ask for more than this? Really, this is completely remarkable that Krishna should be so merciful. In every Kali Yuga, as I described, the holy name is there, but it's never empowered the way that it's empowered now. Because it's empowered directly by Mahaprabhu, it has the ability not only to purify these anarthas, but to take us to Braja Prem. Previously, other names could take us to Vaikuntha Prem, but not Braja Prem. So this Braja Prem, this spontaneous attraction to Krishna, can only be manifest when Mahaprabhu is present, when Mahaprabhu has empowered that name. So now we come to the second jewel, bhava maha-bavania nirvapanam. Bhava, in this line, bhava means mundane material existence. That's the meaning of bhava. Bhava, maha-bavania. Agni is fire. Maha-bavania. This blazing fire of desire to try and enjoy this world. We are constantly disturbed by this desire to enjoy. The materialist, at every breath he takes, every step he takes, he's planning and plotting and trying to figure out how he can take advantage of this material world. Every breath he breathes. And even as devotees, we are still making plans for our own pleasure. It takes a while, sometimes lifetimes, to purify this misconception that I am the enjoyer. By nature, the jiva enjoys. Ananda Vyasat. By nature, he's an enjoyer. He enjoys. But what does he enjoy? The jiva cannot enjoy matter ultimately. Only matter can enjoy matter. But I am soul. If I am thinking and convinced that I am matter, then perhaps there's a little bit of pleasure in the world for me. Or the illusion of pleasure is there, stronger.
How can matter enjoy matter? Matter has no consciousness in order to enjoy them.
Matter cannot enjoy matter, but if you think you're matter, then you will try and take advantage of it. And we do think we're matter. That's the illusion. This is Maya. It's so wonderful that Krishna's arranged this phenomenal, illusion. See it. How extraordinary and astonishing is Krishna, that he's made this illusion for us. And even, it's such an illusion, we're even hearing clearly it's an illusion. We're intelligent people. We hear it's illusion, but we still try and exploit it. And we still get bitten. We still get hurt. But we don't give up. We relentlessly try and enjoy the material world. For years and years and years and years and years and years and years. Even though we heard it 20, 30, 40 years ago. We're still trying to get pleasure because by nature we are enjoyers. But enjoyers of what? Enjoyers of the highest bliss of seva to Krishna. This is the highest bliss, the highest pleasure that the jiva can experience. Even higher than that, not just pleasure in serving Krishna, but pleasure in serving Radha. And not just in serving Radha, but serving Radha as an intimate maidservant. This is the gift of Mahaprabhu. What a gift. What an astonishing gift. How munificent is Krishna that he should come and give us this gift. It's really incredible. We should feel such gratitude and indebtedness that the Lord loves us so much that he has come at this time to give us this gift. Krishna himself, he wears this Kaustubha mani on his chest. What's inside the Kaustubha mani? Inside the Kaustubha mani is the jiva. Krishna never forgets the jiva. We're thinking that we're suffering, wallowing in this material world, but actually Krishna never forgets us. He's looking for ways constantly to remind us of our real identity. Somehow, so this bhava maha-bavania nirvata, this blazing forest fire of material existence is my state of consciousness. What makes a fire? It's the rubbing of two forces together, right? If you have a stick and you rub it very hard, it creates a fire. So there's rubbing together. So what are these two forces that are rubbing together? The first is that in the body of a jiva, I have more desires than I can ever fulfill. This is our condition in the human body. We have more desires than it's ever possible for us to fulfill. Animals are different. The karma of animals don't incur karma. And the animal body is the karma of that soul. If a soul is encaged in a dog's body, that is the karma of that soul, is that body. And that soul has to live according to the dictates of the dog's life. Run, etc. But he doesn't incur karma. If the dog goes and, kills a kitten, there's no bad karma for the dog. And there's no good karma for the dog either. Both ways, unless a very rare exception. Like in that dog in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was given Mahaprasad by the hand of Mahaprabhu himself. And then he went back to Vaikuntha. But generally speaking, animals don't incur karma. But we create our karma. We have our prarabdha, aparabdha, bij and kuta. 4 types of karma. Gross, subtle, and futuristic, and in the past also. These 4 types of karma we should understand. Karma is a very complex topic. There are 13 witnesses in the atmosphere seeing every single move you make, every single action you do is being witnessed and recorded. There is the witness of the sun, witness of the moon, the witness of the 4 directions. There's the witness of the air, the witness of water, the witness of fire, the witness of the demigods, the witness of the supersoul, night and day. There's one more, I can't remember. That's 10. These witnesses are always there. The air itself is a witness to every single act we make, and it's recorded. And this is what creates our next birth and our next situation, our karma. But we want to enjoy, we want to exploit this world. So these desires that we're constantly having are creating karma themselves. So now what is the frustration? The frustration is, what is the other force? This is one force, my unlimited desires. And then the second force is, I'm aware that I only have limited time to fulfill these desires. You see? On one side it's unlimited desires, and on the other side it's a limited amount of time to fulfill these desires. So it's a great clash, actually. It creates a great frustration. The mind becomes very bewildered and intensely trying to enjoy.
and it knows it's only got a limited amount of time in the body. So this is what creates this maha-bavania. This maha-bavania, this blazing forest fire, is created by these two desires, these two understandings coming, my unlimited desires against my limited time in this body. So by the power of the holy name, it can purify this desire to exploit Krishna's energy. There's a story. Once there was a very simple-hearted disciple of a guru, and the guru asked his disciple, go to the village and bring me some fire. 500-600 years ago they didn't have matches. They would take a ladle and just take a cup full of hot coals, and that's how they would create their fire. So he sent the disciple to the village to get some fire. The disciple, he wandered all around in the village, but he couldn't find any fire that morning. So he came back to his guru and he said, oh Guruji, I can't find any fire in the village. The guru at this point in time became very impatient with the disciple. He couldn't believe there was no fire in the village, so he impatiently said, oh, go to hell and find some fire there. So this disciple was very simple. So he went to hell. He went to Lord Yamaraj, and he asked Lord Yamaraj, oh, my Guruji wants some fire. Can you please give me some fire to take to my Guruji? So Lord Yamaraj, he looked at the disciple and thought, oh, this is a very simple-hearted soul. So he took him by the hand, and he took him into the raging inferno of hell. And then he said to this disciple, do you know, there is no fire that is made here. All the fire that you're seeing has been brought by the jivas themselves. It's our fire that we take to hell. It's not the fire of hell. We are burning in our own desires. Just like now, if you become unhappy or frustrated or lamenting, why? It's because of our own desires. For whatever. We may think that they're Krishna focused, but if it leads to lamentation and despondency, then there's some mistake there. It's not going to bring this result or this jewel, which is what these lines are talking about. The jewel is nishta. Today we are discussing nishta. Yesterday was anartha-nivritti. Now we have come to the second jewel of nishta. So this steadiness, how to achieve this steadiness can never be achieved as long as I think I can take advantage of the material world for myself. It's such a deep thing. We must pray to Gurudev. We must pray to the holy name himself to purify this intensely selfish nature that I'm born with. So, now, what is the meaning of nishta? Who can say the meaning of nishta? What does nishta mean? Steadiness. Steadiness. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sri Maharaj, he said nishta means when I cannot withdraw my mind from Krishna. I no longer know how to take my mind away from Krishna. It's constantly surrounded, it's constantly immersed in various thoughts of Krishna. It cannot come away. Understand, these stages of bhakti are not like a fixed state of consciousness necessarily in the beginning stages. It's like the gray areas of it's not black and white. Sometimes we may be in anartha-nivritti, tackling obstacles, and then we may have a pocket of nishta for a few moments or a few hours or a few days, and then again we get plagued with our various anarthas, and then again perhaps we get some ruchi, there's some taste. So this is like fluctuating between these various stages. It's not always absolutely fixed, but gradually as we make progress it becomes more fixed. So now again, the acharyas, especially All three, Gopi. Our intelligence here this morning in the class, we can hear where is the enemy. We can hear what we're up against. With our philosophical depth, we will appreciate the truth of that. But only by the mercy will we be able to realize that. So that's very beautiful. All three, intelligence, philosophy, and mercy. All three we need to realize these truths. None of us are here for some sort of intellectual type of exercise. We're not jnanis. Even though we may talk many various truths and tattvas, don't ever think that my purpose is to collect all of these tattvas and learn how to present them. Never upon never upon never. We don't want to just become a head full of like various tattvas, knowledge. We want experience, we want realization. I can remember personally in my life, very early as a devotee, I decided that I wanted to experience spiritual reality. Therefore, I had to chant. Chanting will give me the experience of these truths that I hear about. If I don't chant, I will never experience these truths. But chanting gives us the power to realize the truths. We need our intelligence and our philosophy to examine the truths. But it's the power of the mantra that will give us the effect or the realization of the truth. Sometimes it's described that these various stages of knowledge are like signposts. They're directing us along the royal road to Goloka Vrindavan. But don't begin just to collect these signposts and just talk about them. We have to go in the direction that they're pointing. They're pointing to the sweetest service to Sri Radha and Krishna. Don't just collect this like a jnani. Don't think that we're just hearing this for some intellectual, gymnastic thing of the mind, We're trying to have an experience of these truths. So this stage of nishta, the acharyas, especially Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in Madhurya Kadambini, he's given us what is not nishta. So yesterday we had obstacles in our bhakti. And today we're going to talk about what is not nishta in two different stages. There is anishtita bhakti and there is nishtita bhakti. This is all part of the same analysis of what is stumbling me in my progress. This jewel we're talking about, bhava maha-bavania davarpina. How can this fire be extinguished? First of all, it can be extinguished by knowledge. And then the knowledge will take root by the power of the chanting and the mercy of Sri Guru. So now, what is anishtita bhakti? What is this unsteady bhakti? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has described 6 types of anishtita bhakti. Who knows them? Anybody? Sajan, you know this? Utsahamayi. Very good. Utsamayi. Utsaha-mayi. Utsaha means very enthusiastic. Mayi means there's still some material contamination there. Utsamayi is somewhat childish. It's described, this particular stage or this particular type of anishtita bhakti is when someone all of a sudden knows some truths and then starts to begin to believe that he knows everything. Just like a little child, he comes home and tells his mother, "Oh, now I know the ABC," and becomes very proud. He hasn't even started to read yet, but he becomes very proud of knowing the ABC. Similarly, if we start to understand some truths of Bhagavad Gita, something of Bhagavatam, etc., but we haven't actually realized anything, we may become very enthusiastically puffed up. This is it's like an anartha, but it's not an anartha. It's a stage called anishtita bhakti. So this is the first, utsamayi, puffed up enthusiasm. And the second? Ganatarala. Ganatarala literally means thick and thin. Gana is thick and tarala is thin. So sometimes I'm on and sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm very attentive to the program, sometimes I'm sleeping. Sometimes I can make it to the program, sometimes I can't. This unsteadiness, unishtita, is very disturbing for the mind. Try to purify these various difficulties. Take strength internally and hold on to the name. So the third, Vishaya Sagar. Yes. Okay, that's the fourth. We say the third. Vishaya means to enjoy, the ocean of enjoyment. It means my senses, I can't control my senses sufficiently. Perhaps I'm trying to eat carefully. Actually, you know what happens when you start chanting a lot? It's quite remarkable. It gives you the intelligence to order your life in such a way that you can really capitalize on this birth's experience. You can really use it properly. For example, it'll give you the intelligence how to eat properly. If you eat too much, you will sleep too much. If you eat too little, you will be too weak. If you eat just what is good for you, you will have more energy and need to sleep less. So Nam will give the intelligence for that also. Nam will give the intelligence in every single aspect of our material lives to make them steady. It creates that intelligence where you don't waste time in a 30-minute conversation which actually has no value at all. You're not sitting on the phone for 20 minutes just talking nothing. You get the intelligence, well, I have a lot to do today. I want to chant a certain number of rounds. It intensifies your whole focus on life. So this Vishaya Sagar is when the senses, Vishaya, enjoy, and Sagar is like ocean. They're trying to enjoy. Still trying to enjoy. Even though we know what are the fundamental truths, we're still trying to enjoy. So Vishaya Sagar. Next.
Does this also mean to enjoy bhakti activities like?
No, that's the, we haven't got that one yet. We're coming to that. That's the sixth, Anishtita Bhakti. That's very good. But that's a good point. But that has its own heading and title. So we can do that one now, if you like. That's called Taranga Rangini. To enjoy the fruits of bhakti. Oh, I am performing bhakti. My consciousness is becoming illuminated. I'm personally becoming so happy. Oh, it seems that it's a phenomenon living in Vrindavan. Anything I desire, I can get. It's true. You suddenly think, oh, I need a new coat. And what happens? 20, 30 minutes later, someone comes, oh, Prabhu, I don't need this jacket. Can you have it? And it's very frightening. I've experienced this, I'm sure, Tungi also. Many, we all have experienced this so many times. You suddenly desire something and bang, it's there. Is this how you want to use your bhakti points? In getting a new chadar or this or this or this? It's called Taranga Rangini. Enjoying the fruits of bhakti. Bhakti is so pleasurable. You can even enjoy it to some degree materially. The material mind can relish the aspects of bhakti. Sannyasi traveling around the world to all exotic places, Sicily, Sardinia, Italy, beautiful places. Do I want to enjoy those places? Is that the purpose of going to those places, so I can enjoy this material world on a subtle level? This is called Taranga Rangini. It creates an unsteadiness in the pure consciousness. We don't want it. It needs to be purified. And then, Viyuda Vikalpa. This means I'm taking vows, Vikalpa. Vows and thinking that I can, I'll chant 64 rounds a day, and I'll take a vow, and after 3 days I'll just flop back to 16, and after 6 days I'll flop back to 5. And then again I'll get enthusiastic and go to 20, and then 30, and then 60, and then again back to 8, 10, 15, 16. This is so unsettling for the consciousness. Somehow the consciousness needs to grow old. Not the body, not our sense of humor, not our vitality, but our maturity. See the predicament we're in. Become sober. Become grave. This is the effect of Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. It gives this jewel of nishta. This jewel of nishta, which is a gravity. Sometimes you can even imagine you're 1,000 years old. It's a really wonderful feeling, you know? Because actually you're more than 1,000 years old. You're thousands and thousands and thousands of years old. How many births have we actually taken? What is this nonsense that we're trying to do in this life that's wasting our time, that's making my mind go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down? That's called anishtita. If we carefully take advantage of what the acharyas are giving us, it's giving us the places where we are oscillating like this. It's showing us clearly. Okay, what's the sixth?
I forget Sanskrit. Vairagya, not vairagya.
No, niyamakshanaha. Niyamakshanaha is the sixth. Niyamakshanaha is like the Viyuddha Vikalpa, but in my service, I'm trying to take vows in my service, and I'm not able to uphold them. There's a difference between this one and the previous one. These vows are more long-term, this niyamagraha. I'm taking a long-term vow to stay in Vrindavan for many months or years, and then after a few weeks, because living in Vrindavan is so remarkable, because very often it's like looking into a mirror. You're staring straight at yourself. I had a friend once, he came for 3 weeks. He thought, I'm going to stay here for 3 weeks. He lasted 3 days. He freaked out completely because sometimes it can become so thick. You're really looking into a mirror at all of your good aspects and your bad aspects. If you start to focus on just the negative aspects, it can become quite sort of freaky. You need to balance it. These are there, of course. We have good qualities and we have bad qualities. We see both of them. Don't deny the good qualities also. Actually, what we used to say when I lived here, because sometimes you get a little bit, you can get a little depressed in Vrindavan. Even if you're chanting and practicing, sometimes it's cold like that, and it can become difficult. And we just used to say, well, go up to ISKCON, they'll pump up your false ego very much, and you'll feel very good and come back again. So, it's the false ego when it gets reduced that it becomes like what we become unsure. This is when we need guidance. We need guidance of the sadhus all the way through this process to show us, yes, you're doing okay, it's no problem. Everything is... So these 6 symptoms of anishtita bhakti. And then, if we climb over those 6 symptoms and we're practicing very diligently, there are still another 5 obstacles that the acharyas reveal to us that we can deal with. If we see all these obstacles in a whole picture together, then we can begin to make real progress in purifying them. Or we can start to know exactly what is slowing me down. So now these other 5 obstacles of nishtita is described. Do you remember? Not klesha, no. One thing I just want to interject here. We should know... Yes, these ones. We should know the difference very deeply between what is sinful acts and what is offensive acts. We should know this very carefully. What is a sin and what is an offense? What is a sin? A sin is something like if you steal something, or if you take another's wife, or if you murder somebody. This is a sin because it's pertaining to this material world. It's a sinful act. But therefore, the reaction for that sinful act is that materially you will suffer. Karmically, you will suffer for that sinful act. But an offense is something much graver. Because if you make an offense, if you offend a devotee, then you're spirit, soul becomes covered and obstructed. In the sinful act, it's like your material self becomes obstructed. But in the offense, your very soul becomes obstructed, because it's directly opposed to Krishna. Directly opposed to Krishna. If you murder somebody, it may not be directly opposed to Krishna. It's a morally wrong thing to do. It's a sinful act to do, and you will suffer materially for that act. But if you commit an offense, that's quite different. It means your soul is obscured from the reality, from the truth. So it's much more dangerous, much more dangerous to commit an offense. And we, by Krishna's mercy, are sitting in Vrindavan, and we're having so much opportunity to increase our bhakti, but simultaneously there is this fear of offenses should be there. It's like a razor's edge. We're living on a razor's edge here. You can make so much advancement, but also you have to be very, very cautious in all of our acts, especially in our dealing with any devotee. It doesn't matter whether you think this devotee is young or unimportant. Nobody is unimportant who comes to Vrindavan, wears tilak and chants Hare Krishna. It doesn't matter if they've been a devotee for 2 days or 3 days. This sense of false importance is what trips us up constantly, actually. This is the false ego, always. So we should know this difference between a sin and an offense. It's important to understand that. So now, these 5 stages of, it's described as nishta. What are the last obstacles in the sadhak's practice? So the first is laya, L-A-Y-A. This means sleepiness. I'm chanting, and just dozing. Chanting, I get up 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, very vigorous, have a nice cold shower. After 1 hour, I'm chanting, snoring. You know, this is unfortunate. We have to practice. Yes, Didi. It says sleepiness in my book. I think sleepiness is different to laziness. We're all lazy in Kali Yuga. I think laziness would come under a much broader bracket, but this is specifically sleepiness. I haven't managed. You see, if we want to increase our chanting, if we want to really take advantage of these jewels, then we must arrange our material bodies in such a way that we have the capacity to chant more. As I described, we should eat correctly what is good for my body to maintain health and strength. We should sleep sufficient and not more than we need. If we sleep more, then we dream, and the dreaming exhausts us. If you sleep too much and dream, that mental activity is very exhausting. So this is actually why Bhaktivedanta Thakur, he brought the program of eating late at night. This is why in the Gaudiya Math they will describe to you why they have rice, dal and sabji at 9 o'clock at night. Because if you have a big meal like that and go to sleep, you don't dream. You're just so busy digesting that you just crash.
The problem is you don't digest.
Yeah, and you don't digest. But Bhaktivedanta Thakur had his plan, and this was how he arranged it.
You have a different metabolism.
A different metabolism, definitely. It doesn't work for me at all. But in the mud, I don't feel always part of the mud life entirely. I'm talking about
brahmacharis, they have enough fire.
Yeah, that they can just digest. But you have to take what is healthy for you, what is sufficient for you, and sleep what is sufficient for you. Take the material resources that are sufficient. Don't take extra. If someone's offering you so many things, clothes, this and that, yeah, take what you need. Don't burden yourself in any way. So the holy name will give the intelligence to take what you need, so that you can chant more, so that you are more fit to be able to chant. It's a science. It really is a science. So laya, sleepiness. The second?
Vikshepa.
Vikshepa. Vikshepa is distraction. I'm chanting and I'm being distracted by anything around me. Distraction. And the next? Apratipati. Apratipati means gossiping. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Did you hear about what he did the other day? Huh?
Bezrazlichie.
Berazlichia.
Useless talk.
What?
Useless talk.
Useless talk or indifferent. No, indifference is something else. Gossiping, useless talk. Actually, you see, by the power of Nam, these obstructions automatically become purified. You just don't have any other desire to talk about useless things. That desire has gone away by itself. It's very wonderful when these jewels actually start to manifest in the consciousness. We can see when they start to manifest. But they will manifest to different degrees at different times. It's not like all of a sudden you just suddenly stop gossiping totally. But gradually over a period of time, your taste to indulge in useless talk evaporates. And you don't want it so much. Then the fourth?
Kashaya.
Kashaya, which means I'm still holding bad habits. I still have some bad habits from previously. Bad habits that I may have picked up from birth are still rolling around. What we're discussing here is nishta. We're trying to reach that stage of steady practice, steady progress. These are potholes in the royal road that the acharyas have shown us. There is a smooth, beautiful road, and it's got some holes in it to begin with. The acharyas are so compassionate that they've shown us where are these holes, what are these holes. When we know what are the holes, we can navigate around them and not drop in them. Don't think it's just some dry list of, obstacles or something. It's showing us the dangers on this path. And then the final one, last one.
Rasasvada.
Rasasvada. That I still have a desire to enjoy rasa, the material world. Something in the material world still holds pleasure for me. This is very high to be purified of this entirely. We even see in the example of Jat Bharat, or Bharat Maharaj, when he was in the ashram. There was some pleasure in looking after that little deer. There was some feeling of, I am the protector, I am the maintainer of this little deer. So there was some anartha there was some material taste that was actually being experienced by Bharat Maharaj in that case. So it's a very deep thing. All these are very deep things. But gradually, we can purify these obstacles, subtle and gross. So far, in the last 2 days, we've discussed what are anarthas, we've discussed what is anishtita bhakti and what is anishtita bhakti. By examining these stages, we can come to the platform of nishta. But of course, simultaneously, as I described, I hope clearly yesterday, that our object is not to dwell on these topics that we're discussing now. I'm saying it one time so that we will refresh the potholes in the road. And then we go on with the positive alternative. We go on with hearing about the sweet glories of Radha and Krishna. We go on with hearing about the glories of Braja Prem. We go to the higher realm. We don't dwell on these lower things. You don't walk around talking about, I got rid of this anartha today and purified this. And we don't want to really go into that realm, but they will come. So we should have some weapons. The weapons is knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge of what are these obstacles. So now this is knowledge. Knowledge of how I can practice as a progressive sadhak. This is my intention. This is my goal. This is why we're here. Now these, practically how many? 16, 22, 27. 27 potholes we've discussed in 2 days. So it just gives us an idea of how deep we have to go. But the power of the name is what's going to carry us there. Okay? So this is the stage of nishta. At this period of the day, we discussed anartha-nivritti is described as the first yama of the day, which is nishanta lila. And the second yama is prata lila. And this is paralleling the stage of nishta. This prata lila is when Krishna wakes up and goes to the Goshala with Balaram, and they milk the cows, etc. And then he comes, takes beautiful breakfast in the Bhojanlaya with all his cowherd friends. So in the evening, I think, we're going to discuss more of the sweet aspects. In the morning, I want to discuss particularly the tattva. And in the evening, once we have absorbed that tattva, we become a little qualified to sit on the horse of tattva, which is rasa or lila. Gurudev said so many times, we should know enough tattva to enter lila. Our object is to enter the lila. This is our object. But how to enter the lila if I'm plagued with these deficiencies? So now, by the mercy of the acharyas, we're able to purify, or we're able to at least see. It's the beginning. Imagine a general materialist, he doesn't even know any of these things. How can he purify his existence? Maybe he might pick up on one or two of them and think that by behaving morally correctly that he's going to make a spiritual progress. It's not like that. It's much, much deeper than that. Much deeper. So try and remember these different potholes. While you're chanting, you see, the point of taking notes is that when you're chanting later on, you can just glance at your notes and you can have it in sutra form, what we discussed, and you see a couple of words and immediately you remember all that topic. Immediately you remember that topic. Our notebooks should be our most precious books eventually. I've had notebooks for years, and all I do now is just read through the notebooks most of the time, because it's a summary of the whole topic, and I just have to read one sentence and then I remember the rest of it. But if I don't read that sentence, I'll forget it. So notes are very, very important. Srila Gurudev would always encourage us to take these notes. So while we're chanting, we can look at these notes. Sometimes if the mind is roaming and restless while we're taking Nam, there is no problem to reading simultaneously a sentence or two. Not reading pages and pages, but reading a sentence or two to become inspired in a particular topic. Many times I'll be reading something and then I'll think of something else, I'll get another book, and when I finished after a few hours, there's so many books around me that I've been following one thread through. But I'm chanting the whole time, but not reading at length, but just picking up what I need to be nourished, what I need to stay balanced. If I hear one verse, then I can chant sometimes for so much time, just meditating on that one verse. We don't need heaps and heaps of reading actually when you chant a lot. One time one previous sannyasi was telling me, he doesn't like to chant so much because he prefers to read. But what is the value of your reading if you don't chant? You can make an experiment. Before you chant it very much, you can read one page. Then you can chant 20 rounds and read that same page again. And just see the difference. It's like chalk and cheese. Totally different. You never understood anything before you chanted. I can even remember many years ago that I used to give the class in the Krishna Balaram, and I would make lots of notes and read many books and make a whole presentation prepared and so on. Then one day I just thought, to hell with it, I'll just chant more. So I chanted an extra 16 rounds instead, and I found it was the best received class that I gave, because there's a certain sound vibration in your voice even, that there's a certain level of consciousness you physically come to when you increase your chanting. It's quite mystical. Of course it's mystical, where the name can lead the consciousness. But it's true, it's a reality. So it's not about trying to absorb knowledge. It's just hearing what is the basic truth and then diving in there to taste it. And the taste is in the lila. So in the evening more we will discuss, like last night we discussed principally Vipralamba Bhav, something on those topics. But in this evening we will talk about this Prata Lila and Nishanta Lila, which parallel this particular stage of bhakti that is being purified by the holy name. Okay, now we have a little more time. So the next jewel is Shreya Karaiva Chandrika Vitaranam. So we have Cheto Darpanam Bhajanam, Bhava maha-bavania nirvapanam, Shreyam Karaiva Chandrika Vitaranam. So this Shreya, this means very auspicious. Shreya Karaiva Chandrika. Chandrika is the moon. Just a second. Get my book out. Can't remember it all. Shreya Karaiva. It's nice to know the exact meanings of the words. So, Chandrika Vitaranam mean which spreads the moonshine. And Shreya Karaiva, it means this blossoming of the auspicious beauty in the heart. Actually, this stage now, this Shreya Karaiva Chandrika Vitaranam, heralds the stage of ruchi. Gurudev said many times, you must quickly come to this stage of nishta. Until we have not come to the stage of nishta, we are in a very critical condition. We must get to this stage of nishta, and from nishta, ruchi will come very easily. But as I said before, it's not like we come to this stage of nishta, then all of a sudden ruchi is... Ruchi can manifest even in an artanivriti. We'll be tasting something, of course. Even when you first start chanting, you're tasting something. So it's a gradual increase. But specifically, this stage of ruchi is the jewel, the third jewel of the whole Siksastakam. So, like I said, this first verse is like a summary. It's saying what are the 7 jewels, and then in the next 7 verses, it's describing each of those jewels. So this stage, Shreya Karaiva Chandrika Vitaranam, is the stage of ruchi. Now, in the stage of ruchi, there are 2 types of ruchi. Srila Gurudev describes when he was giving those lectures to these GBC men in the early days. He was describing 2 types of ruchi. There is a taste that you enjoy from the illumination of your own soul. It's very pleasurable when your soul becomes prominent in your consciousness. When these coverings get brushed away or purified, your pure spirit soul will begin to manifest. That's very tasty. That illumination is very sweet. That's the first type of ruchi. Then there is a second type of ruchi when that taste is for the object of my bhajan, which is much superior. This taste in seva to Radha and Krishna. So just understand that there are these 2 types of ruchi. If you're feeling very wonderful and you're bubbling in ecstasy, you might just examine, is that just because my soul is becoming awake and I'm actually tasting something here, personally? Maybe. This is also described, there's 2 Sanskrit terminologies that describe these 2 types of ruchi. One is vastu, vaishishya, apekshini. This vastu, sorry, my Sanskrit is not good. Vastu, vaishishya, apekshini. This means that I get this ruchi or taste when the kirtan is very sweet and melodious, when I'm very comfortably situated, when the parikrama is not too severe, when I'm in a nice rickshaw being driven around and someone is very nicely relating where everything is, but if I'm in a bumpy, dusty bus and it's too hot and I'm hungry, then my taste is not so high to appreciate Brajadam. So we have these different aspects of ruchi. The second type is called Vastu Vaishishya Anupikshana, which means that regardless of the melody or regardless of the situation, still my taste in my affection and my attraction to the object will surpass any material consideration. Do you understand clearly? These two types of ruchi. So we shouldn't become bewildered. We should see clearly, what is this taste that I'm actually experiencing? Is it something of my own beauty that I'm tasting, or is it Krishna's beauty that I'm tasting? Am I really able to serve Krishna, or am I still serving myself? Krishna is the only enjoyer, ultimately. Bhaktaram yagyatapasam sarva loka maheshwaram. He is the receiver of all yagyas. He is the highest enjoyer. We have been made for His pleasure. It's very hard for us to actually, even begin to appreciate this point. We have to be reminded of this point regularly. It's His world, and He has manifested us for His pleasure. So in this stage of ruchi, these two types of ruchi, this Vastu Vaishishya Anupekshani and Vastu Vaishishya Anupekshani. I got to say, I'll have to read.
Apekshani and anupekshani.
Yes, thank you, sir. He knows Sanskrit more than me.
What is the first one?
Yes.
Apekshani.
Say loudly so everyone can hear.
Vastu Vaishishya Apekshani, so it's basically dependent on circumstances.
Yes.
And Anupekshani, independent of circumstances.
Better than that explanation is, one is like I'm enjoying something myself from my soul's illumination, and the other is that I'm understanding the sweetness of the object that I'm trying to connect with. Because this is pure bhakti. So you can get a taste when you very first come into the temple. You can get a taste when you're not even initiated practically. To some degree, there can be some sweetness coming, some relief from the material onslaught with some knowledge. So this is the stage of ruchi. So this is the third jewel that is revealed in the Siksastakam. So we have 15 minutes left if anyone wants to go over anything that I've already said, or shall I carry on? Or shall I ask you some questions? Yes. The first stage is Anartha Nivritti compared to Nishanta Lila. Second is Prata Lila. And third is Purvana Lila. Purvana Lila. This is the mid-morning pastimes when Krishna goes cow grazing. In the evening, we're going to discuss these yamas in more detail. What is Nishanta Lila? What is the sweetness of that? What is the sweetness of... You see, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in that map that I gave you, he parallels all of these teachings with, one is called a Jati Sadak and one is called a Ajati Sadak. The Ajati Sadak does not have bhava, but the Jati Sadak has bhava, or has a much deeper mood. So if your mood is deeper at this early stage of Cheto Darbana Marjanam, you're thinking about Nishanta Lila. And then as that, then Prata Lila, this Astakaliya Lila. We have to know what Krishna is doing at the 8 periods of the day. Otherwise, what sort of bhakta are we? We need to know what are his activities if we're trying to inspire our attraction and affection and connection with that supreme sweetness. Then we should be hearing about what are his activities. And what is he doing? And who is he with? And what is the joy that he is experiencing? What is the rasa? So tattva is not enough. Tattva is like the horse, and the rasa is like the rider of the horse. The rider of the horse is much more important than the actual horse itself. But without the horse, how can the rider move? In other words, both are important, but the rider is prominent. So the lila is the most important. To enter into lila, to hear about lila. But if you hear just lila with no real comfortable foundation, then it will become very bewildering, actually. And there's many, many dangers. Srila Gurudeva said so many times, don't just try and jump to the top of the tree. If you try that, you will fall down, crash. We have seen so many devotees, they've run to Radha Kund and they've done so many esoteric activities, and they haven't been grounded sufficiently. What we've described in the last 2 days, I think, is very beneficial for a foundational groundwork to build the next stages on top of. This is what the Siksastakam is made of. Mahaprabhu knows our condition. He's giving us the foundation first in this first verse, and then in the sequential verses he'll build on those understandings. So how merciful is Mahaprabhu to give us these jewels clearly and to create this foundation so we can enter the Leela. Because ultimately, what is our goal? Our goal is to develop attraction for Krishna in this birth. At the time of death, what will happen? What will happen? It's not you're suddenly going to be zapped into some place. Probably it'll be like an influence of Krishna will manifest. And how much are you in your heart attracted to that? How much have you really in your heart developed attraction for Radha and Krishna? Or how much has just been, superficial? Because that can happen, especially in an institutional environment. In an institutional environment, it has its pluses and minuses. In an institutional environment, you can start trying to do what other people are doing when you're not actually qualified for it. Or you can start trying to be better than other people when you're not qualified. So there's many dangers there. But actually, what is your heart's condition in its attraction to Radha? How much do you love Krishna? Really? The sadhak will never think he has affection or attraction for Krishna. He doesn't think that. How can he?
then those other things, because there's a flow in the consciousness of material thought and spiritual thought that are running side by side. You can't really stop it, but by intelligence, you can kind of like, it's like a gonaras. Gonaras means that something's prominent and then another thing's prominent. When the material desires come in, they can become prominent if you let them, but through knowledge you kind of like don't let it take hold in your consciousness. Therefore, when we're chanting, we don't think about it on arti. Because if you think about your arti, then that will be more prominent in your consciousness, and you're trying to forget those, trying to totally forget those, so that the mind won't dwell on them, and you can steadily begin to think of these other things, because you're getting a higher taste, nishta than samuchi. So by Guru's mercy, you'll get a taste for hearing these things. If you're really trying to practice them daily, from the moment you wake up to the moment you take sleep at night. And your whole sadhana is basically the foundation of all that. To engage the mind, the words, your intelligence, your body, your activities, all these things are part of the sadhana that will make you steadily absorbed in that. Otherwise, when you're thinking, how going here, there, or some material things, and how can you have your mind fixed? How will it fit?
Sadhu Sangha. Yes, it's good. Thank you. Thank you. Sadhu Sangha and our effort is what he's saying. With the association of devotees, it's like being in the fire. Once you have been in the fire, though, and become strong, then you should go and give your association.
Look at how steady your mind is now. How can you wake up every day and think about chanting if your mind's not becoming steadier in that type of activity? Action, you can't stop action for a moment. So it's like, it may be very weak because your faith is weak, but as you practice it day after day, that's what Mahaprabhu is all about. Day after day, you're doing and meditating on a certain thing. Eventually, it will become so prominent, like, opening and closing your eyes, or eating. It will become spontaneous because if you're practicing constantly from one moment to the next, it eventually become natural. Not natural to meditating on material things.
Okay?
Thank you.
We're always making choices. We made a choice when we first came into this world. It wasn't that choice isn't going on every single minute of our lives. We're tatashta, marginal by nature. And in the next 20 minutes, how many times will you turn away from Krishna? You should think like that. And try and take advantage to turn towards him. It'll happen automatically in time. Be patient, but don't be distracted, like he's saying. Stay on track. Any other question? Yeah.
If we make a decision to chant more, and we have the experience that yes, definitely my consciousness does become more transcendental, then we still have this unsteady thing of taking the vow and then not following it. So there's some fear that if I chant more, I won't be able to stay there.
Don't try it first.
There should be no fear. What fear?
Fear of breaking your vow.
Gurudev said, don't make vows if you can't keep them.
Yeah, so
Just do it. Don't make a vow, just do it. Just do it. It's good to make a vow though, because it gives you some fear, and if fear is the impetus to doing it, then okay, no problem. Sometimes Gurudev would terrify us. I feel sometimes terrified by Gurudev. He would chase me around and ready to beat me up practically if I didn't know something. Sometimes fear works. Love is sweeter, we like the power of love, but also fear works. So if you're going to frighten yourself by making a vow, do it. Whatever it takes. Do it. Take a vow. And then don't drop back on it. You are strong. We all are incredibly strong. But our habits and our desires sometimes are not so strong. But we ourselves are incredibly powerful. We are spirit, pure spirit. That's who we are. Why do we keep associating with this weakness of mind and heart? That's not me. It's just that it's been around for so long as I can remember, but it's still not a reality. It's still part of the illusion that I am weak, that I will break a vow. You're not weak. You won't break a vow. You are spirit soul. Now walk into that state of consciousness and stay there. Hold it. That's who you are. It doesn't become an effort after a while because that's the natural place of your consciousness. It's more of an effort to actually go into material consciousness than spiritual consciousness. The spiritual consciousness is natural. Material consciousness is actually unnatural. That's the truth. Our spiritual consciousness is the reality. But this fabricated mental conceptions that we have, this is not a reality. So give in to the spiritual power that is there within all of us. And take the vow on behalf of your most beautiful spirit soul. It's so splendid, it's so wonderful. It's the most wonderful thing in existence. You know, when the spirit soul first drops into the darkness of this material world, he sees the darkness of this material energy, this lower energy. At that point, he knows that he's actually pure spirit. He's come from a spiritual place. He's come from the body of Mahavishnu. He's come from a spiritual place. And he's come into the darkness of this material world. At that point, he realizes that he's better than the inferior energy. And at that point, his pride develops. It's always pride that is stumbling us, because it's always humility that carries us in there. So this is the essential path of humility. Humility to appreciate my real nature. I'm not such a big person in the material world. I'm not important at all in the material world. But spiritually, I have a significance. But materially, if Krishna wants to give me some significance temporarily, he can do. And if not, okay. This is often a difficulty. But if we have faith, absolute faith, Shraddha Shabde Vishwasya Koi Sudrita Nishchaya, this firm faith that by practicing, for sure, all of these truths will be revealed and will remain with me. Because that's who I am. You're not Jagatam. You're someone, you're pure spirit, beyond that material conception. Have faith in it. Vrindavan gives us faith. Just by living here in Vrindavan, seeing the Jamuna every day, gives us so much faith in this reality. This is the reality. The material, naughty mind is not the reality. That's not actually who we are. Have faith in it. Okay? Srila Gurudev ki jai, Sripad Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Satchinandana Gaur Hari ki jai, Radha Gopinath Chu ki jai, Gaur Premanandi.